Well, well, I've done a silly thing, and I have decided I flipped the episodes. So the episode that y'all will hear this week was recorded after the one that you'll hear next week because my brain seriously last night was like short circuiting because I was like I'm trying to like figure out how to do this, and it's like a very simple thing. And I just made it really complicated.
Hang on, it says I might not be recording through my mic. See, we're all struggling today. Hang on.
It's a rough day, friends. Okay, should we pause?
No, did that fix it?
Yes. Oh, that's so much better. But wait, is mine right?
Yours is fine.
Oh, man. Yeah, we're using a new recording software, which is kind of funny because in the next episode, you'll hear us complain about the struggles we're having with that. It's fine. We'll figure it out, okay?
Just to give you like a calendar, a timeline of how this goes, is that Christine and I recorded this episode and next week's episode within the same 24-hour period.
Yes, good point.
And this one we recorded after the last one. So what you're going to hear next week is us being incredibly frazzled. And
I mean, I sound like off my rocker next week, but I promise now that you're hearing me, I survived it.
And the one you're hearing now is us still frazzled, but I think half figured out, but not really.
I almost feel like yesterday's vent session, which, again, y'all will not hear till next week, helped me kind of process it and come back to reality. So, and Eva's probably like, what are you talking about? Because she was not on the recording yesterday and missed my like mental breakdown, sort of. Everyone's like probably going to expect like the apocalypse in next week's episode. It's really not that crazy.
It's us just being a usual amount of spiraling.
That's all. It's also me just like at no shame begging everyone to buy tickets for the live show for both Beach Too Sandy and That's Why We Drink in an effort to make me feel better. And I do recognize that sounds really shitty. And I didn't mean it to be shitty. I just am like,
you'll hear it next week. And
yeah, just come hang out with me, please, somebody. Anyway, Em, do you like my shirt?
You know, I love your shirt. That's one of my... I know a Target purchase when I see it.
Yes,
was that it?
Also, this was my cover photo for 6 years on Facebook. It's Frog and Toad with the words, "We must stop eating," cried Toad as he ate another. And when I was in college, I was like, this really represents me and my whole deal. So I made it my cover photo for probably half a decade at least.
And your personality, probably.
It was already my personality. I just suddenly had a label to it. And so I saw this at Target with Leona and I just gasped.
As someone who has seen you perform that exact bit with wine.
I must stop. Yeah. And everyone's like, yes, you must. And I'm like, Anyway.
No, I love that shirt. I actually, the only reason I know it's a Target purchase is because when I was last at Target, I went, and then I almost bought it.
Every millennial probably did the same sound.
Yeah, probably.
That shirt.
And every Gen Z was like, okay, yeah.
Anyway, Em, hi. I'm so glad to see you again. We never record day after day, so this is a delightful experience. How are you doing? Oh, by the way, folks, in the next episode, you'll hear Em say, "This is probably my last episode recorded in the troll hole," and now it's the next day, and we're doing it again.
Well, it worked out because next week now will be the last time people see me at the troll.
Honestly, actually, very weird how that worked. Yes, inadvertently, you're so right.
I think I'm about to hit a stage where you are currently at, where you're kind of spiraling, and not just because of work, but because it will be. This is our kind of like, you'll hear about it all next week, folks. But we're kind of in a crunch mode for the podcast right now with like getting ready for the show coming up and all stuff like that. So that stresses me out. But the thing that I'm most stressed about, which I've already kind of talked about more or less, is just the house. I'm just, man, everyone tells you that it's stressful. And I believed it. It's not like I thought I was, immune to that. But I went in thinking, okay, I'm prepared for it to be frustrating. And And now
I mean,
I'm at the frustrating part, and I'm like, okay, like I knew this was gonna happen, but I'm still mad about it.
exactly. And I
So,
think everyone can relate to that because it's like, oh, they tell you to have a kid, or like having a kid is very overwhelming, and you're like, yeah, I know, like I know it's going to be overwhelming, but you can't really understand it until you're in it, right? Because it's just like, how would you even comprehend that?
well, it's more. I don't know what people meant by it's frustrating. I don't know if like everyone's talking about a different category, and we just all
I'm
kind
sure
of
there's many. Yeah.
But the one for me is like just I went to lunch with somebody yesterday, and they were like, "Oh, like are you having fun? You know, getting the house together?" Which like this is clearly not a homeowner who said
Yeah,
that.
I was gonna say, and well, this is also someone who's not met you very long because you're like, I hate when people ask me that question.
Yeah, and oh yeah, they're learning very quickly that that's
You gave them the Leona like scowl, and they were like, "Cool, I'll reframe the question. Got it. I've upset
I think
you."
they I think they learned very quickly that I'm gonna give them a direct answer, and maybe it's not the one they were expecting because I immediately went no.
Nope, certainly not.
Well, the part that's frustrating me currently, it's not even like getting the house, or I am wildly stressed about having to figure out how to like downsize and like find spots for everything and all the stuff that goes into like buying furniture and the things you're not thinking you'll need. But currently I feel the most pressure about disappointing Allison because we're like in the mode right before we're about to move in, and so we're both like kind of selecting responsibilities for each other, and she's like Miss Type A, loves her Excel sheets and her planners, and she's going to get it done in 5 minutes, and it's going to take me like 3 weeks, and I'm already stressed about her being stressed about whether or not I'll get it done in time. And so I'm just kind of mid panic about making sure that I get all my stuff done, and I don't feel competent enough to be relied upon like that, but I'm gonna have to figure it out. So that's what's stressing me out.
Gut reaction, which is probably not helpful at all, but this is just what sometimes my mom tells me, and it does seem to calm me down, is like, and you've said it to me before too, is it'll get done. Like whether you're stressed or not, or whether you're like feeling like incompetent or whatever, in a few months you'll be like, okay, that's over, and you'll be on to the next thing.
I know it'll get done. That's exactly how I face just about anything.
I mean, that's how we both face any sort of thing for the tour. Like, well, it'll happen whether we try 100% or 800%.
I just want to do it with as little like causing frustration between me and Allison, which like that's, I don't want it to sound like that's something that happens all the time. I mean, any big, I don't want to give her any more
pressure on a relationship. You're doing a new task together. It's hard.
Yes. I don't want to give her any more reason to be, you know, as stressed as she probably is about moving in too. I don't want her to also have to think about like, I don't know, I struggle with, or I used to definitely struggle with like weaponized incompetence and not being able to like do things for myself. And I don't want her to feel like I can't be
Is
dependable.
this your public plea so that when she hears the episode, she's like, well, I guess I can't accuse you of that?
No, her and I have talked about this. Like, can you imagine if this was the first time that she's hearing about it?
She's like, wow, you apologized to millions of people, just not to me. Got it.
No.
Cool.
We haven't had like any issues with that in a long time. It's just in moments like this where there's a new task I'm responsible for, I remember that I've just got to get it together and just figure it out. And it just stresses me out on top of the other stuff I'm already stressed out about. So I don't know. I just want her to have an enjoyable first move into her first house, and I don't want my stuff to get in the way of her like getting to celebrate a milestone.
I don't think you'll get in the way. I feel like it's a big deal for each person individually, on top of being a big deal as a couple. I feel like each person's going to have that experience separately too. She'll love it. She'll have a good time.
She might. I hope. We'll see. It's kind of just like when I was telling you last time, where there's just all these things that no one ever fucking taught you, and maybe they did back in the day, and now it's just like scrapped from education or something.
But nobody knows. Like nobody knows. That's the thing that we learned. Did people write to you and be like,
"Yeah, a lot of people were like,
the city." Nobody knows how to call the fucking city.
But
my mom was like, "What does that even mean?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know."
It's multiple tasks like that that Allison has put in front of me where I'm like, oh shit, I have to figure out how to call this. I want to look like I'm not relying on her to do it. So it is up to me to figure it out because I don't want to look like
Oh God. Wait till you have a kid and then they're like,
incapable.
oh, where does she go to the dentist? And I'm like, the dentist? She's supposed to go to the dentist? Like,
does she have all of her teeth? Can
yeah.
she? Oh, okay.
And like they're like, well, you're supposed to go to the dentist before you have your teeth. I'm like, fuck.
What?
Like, I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy. There's like everything. They're like, oh, has she done this yet? Has she joined this group yet? Has she learned how to do this yet? I'm like, it really, it's I'm not trying to say, oh, there's well, you'll probably face. Well, it never ends. I think, and I only say this because I feel like every grown up, like I know it's very isolating the position you're in right now, and I don't know if this is helpful at all, but I feel like everyone listening is like, oh, been there, like whether it's like going to college for the first time and living on your own, or moving in with someone, or buying a house, or having a child, or getting a dog or a turtle. I don't know. I feel like there's so many things that we're all just kind of like, how the fuck does anyone do this? And everyone is thinking that.
Yeah. No,
everyone.
that is helpful. I know that I'm not alone, but also because nobody else I know is going through it currently, it feels very isolating.
Oh my gosh. Literally, I texted a friend of mine today and I said, I have a really like embarrassing question. I'm actually like, I like teared up writing it because I was so embarrassed and like didn't know what to do. But I said, I have a parenting question. It might be dumb but I don't have any other friends with kids, but like, because they've been inviting us to trivia nights. And I'm like, how do you do that? And I don't mean in a bad way. I'm like, do you bring your kids? Like, I don't know what the protocol is. Like, do we bring the kids to the trivia at the outdoor brewery? Do you ask your parents do you hire a babysitter? And they have twins. So I'm like, girl, what do you do? But they're being social and doing more fun things than I do. And I'm like, how do you do that? And they're both lawyers. And I'm like,
I can't
I'm sorry, one's a
that.
lawyer, one's a doctor. And I'm like, how do you people do this? And so she wrote me this really long thing and was like, oh, don't worry. Like, she like wrote everything out, how they piece it together and like the struggles they're dealing with, trying to find the right babysitter and everything. So I'm like, okay, all right. That makes me feel better because I went over there to play Dungeons and Dragons the other day for the first time. And Blaze and I were like, we haven't gone out in the middle of the day just for fun, the two of us, for hours in a long time, just like for no good reason. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And then like they invited us out for trivia tonight. And I was like, oh, that would be so fun if Blaze and I could both go. But I'm like, but how do people do it? So I'm trying to do like a little recon and asking other parents, like, how do they do it? How do you do it? Do you bring a kid? Is it like a dog where you can like take them and tie them up to a fence for a while? Like, do I bring a tablet?
You leave them
like,
unattended in the house for a few hours as long as you get back before they pee?
Do I just leave her with like a Kong peanut butter ball and like a potty pad? I don't know. So anyway, I'm just trying to figure it out. But I feel like I like that you address this because I think yesterday when I had that like kind of crazed meltdown that everyone won't hear till next week, that's what it is. It's all those little things where I'm like, oh, great. And someone invited me to do something fun and I've been hoping to like make new friends in the area. And now I can't go because I don't understand how. Mm-hmm. And now they're probably never going to invite me again because they're like, oh, she doesn't want to go. So I feel like every little thing is like a stressor. And then Leona's like, I want to go to a baseball game today. And I'm like, this is untenable.
Girl, sit down.
Sit down. This is untenable. I don't even know what you're talking about. You want to go to a baseball game. It's 103 degrees out.
Yeah, trust me, girl, you don't want to go.
Sorry. I didn't mean to make that about me. I basically am just saying, dude, I feel you so hard on that. And also, I have a house and it's fucking falling apart and it's so expensive to fix. And I feel like I'm also just dropping the ball left and right. So
you still have things going on in that house?
It's always, I mean, his house is, I feel like there's always something. There's always like a leak. There's always like something that needs to be fixed. There's always something that's squeaky. Like I keep WD-40 on every floor. Something's always like wrong. But that's just being a homeowner. Ha 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 ha. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if this will be my last house, and not in a way where like because I stay here forever. There was some actress I think it was Jeanette McCurdy or something where I'm on homeowner TikTok apparently now, and she did an interview where she was like, yeah, everyone told me to get a house. That's how you climb the ladder. That's like your next big step as an adult and you get a house. But after 3 years, I sold it and moved back into an apartment because that was just bullshit. And I'm
was that Emma, what's her name? maybe not. There was one influencer where I was like, she was like, what a big mistake I've made. And then like backed right out.
Yeah.
But to be fair, they're buying like gigantic mansions and stuff.
That's
and like
true.
have to hire like crazy, I don't know, amounts of staff. But yeah, I just feel like there's always something. But I mean, it's also, it can be fun. Like I was just thinking, oh my God, I really hate the color. I painted our downstairs like middle kind of extra guest room. And I was like, I want to turn this into a playroom. And so now I'm like, oh, that's fun. I can just kind of focus on like rearranging it into a playroom for Leona. Like there's fun little projects you find, you know, throughout the stressors of owning a house. So you'll get there definitely, I think. Like you're not at that. I know you said you're like still kind of at the overwhelm phase, but someday you'll get to the point where you're like, oh, I can make a little like tea nook here or something. Or like, you know, you can do like the fun stuff later.
Well, that's what I've been saying since the beginning, which I feel bad about because I know this is like, again, also a milestone for Allison that it's her first house. So I don't want to just come in like a fucking Scrooge. But I have been saying when the first year is over, I'll be so excited to be here. It's just like, give me a year, which is like so mean to ask her when she's like,
not mean. I mean, you can't force your feelings.
But I have been saying once all the like the heavy stuff in the beginning is over, we'll both be excited to be here. Currently, I'm not because all I see is like just I hate learning curves, and this is just a lot of them all at once.
Oh God, you're totally right.
On top of like not even really wanting to move to begin with, which I discuss next week. But it's a lot of things, and I already feel like I'm being kind of forced into the position because I didn't want to really leave the apartment to begin with. These fucking roaches just kind of kicked me out essentially. So yeah, just a lot of like adjustment feelings, and then when I figure it out, I'll be fine. So
yeah, well, we are all here for you in whatever way we can be.
Thank you. Well,
except I'm not going to call the city because that's Allison's job.
Hey, you tell her that because I want to be where you are. I don't want to call the city ever again. She said something the other day because like we are still trying to do construction, and they can't do construction until we like move a wire, and then it's like, oh, and she was like, oh, well, you just call the city, and then you call the power company, and then you call this.
No, blah blah blah. I'm not listening. I'm seriously, I can't listen to that. That's gonna make me.
First of all, what the fuck do you mean? Oh, you just do this?
Do you know what I do?
What?
I say, Mom, I need you to call them because I am very fortunate that my mom is still living, is near me, is like
knows the numbers already.
The phone has done this before. I call my mom. I mean, that's literally why I moved back. I'm like, I need my mom and I need my stepdad to like, if there's a wire hanging from the ceiling that my baby is trying to eat, I need him to fix it. Like, I don't know how to fix it myself. And Blaze and I certainly aren't going to get on the phone. So that's why you need your mom to do it. Or Eva, because she honored as a birthday gift, she literally gave me, and she's like, I don't want this to sound condescending.
It's like the best birthday gift I've ever heard of.
It's the nicest gift I've ever received that I'm so scared to use it. Like it's the gift of making phone calls for me if I need help with like a phone call or something. And I was like, this service is invaluable. Like, I don't even want to waste
the most priceless gift I've ever heard of.
I don't want to waste my little tokens. And so that's what
she said, like, you have 5 calls or something like that.
Yeah. You need to delegate them. You just are like, I'm not doing that. Or you email them. That's what I do.
Well, the other things that, because it's we've gone probably too far over on time, but the things that Allison has to do versus the things I have to do, like, she already took the ones that feel like heavy lifters, and so for me to just have to figure out how to call somebody, I don't know why it's so fucking stressful, and I don't know why I can't figure it out, and I'm sure there's just
welcome to my fucking life, dude. Calling people is not it. Calling phone calls, not it. Nope.
I hate it.
It's the worst. It's the worst thing that you have to do in life.
I think it's
just
also
kidding, but it's not fun.
Well, it's additionally difficult as someone who, like, my biggest symptom with my ADHD, which if someone doesn't have ADHD, I'm sure they feel like this is me just like playing victim. But if you get it, you get it. But like, I already have task paralysis on things I know how to do. So like the fact that the fact that like now there's a task of learning before even doing the task. Why do you have to do
those tasks? That's what I don't understand. Like, why can't you delegate them to someone else or like find a way?
There's really nobody else to have call the power company. I mean, because also, to be fair, like, Allison's doing half the work. I want to do the other half of the work, but I'm just overwhelmed at the thought of even starting it.
I would just email them.
Okay.
And if they don't respond, then call them. That's what I do. I email them a couple times. If they don't respond, I'm like, fucking fine.
Yeah.
And you know what I did? If anyone out there has phone anxiety, I'm on a long-standing mission to figure out how to deal with it. I'm so sweaty. I don't know if you can tell. My palms are like
my neck
soaked in
is
sweat.
sweaty, and I don't know why.
Because this is so stressful to me to talk about. I bought the dorkiest thing, and I love it. It's a headset like they wear in like a telemarketer thing.
Shut up. Oh, that's
no,
amazing.
I'm serious. And I wear it and I put it on and I sit at my desk like professionally. And I'm like, this is now my job. Like I frame it as like,
That's
not
not
like I'm
stupid.
just picking up the phone and calling someone. It's like, okay, I'm going to sit down and like write down my tasks, make it feel as professional, because I had jobs in offices before as a receptionist, as an administrative assistant. I'm like, so I know I've answered phones before, but I think it was just that I had to because it was a job. So now I'm like, oh, I just sit there and I'm like, okay, my first task is to call this person. I dial it. I have my little thing. I'm typing. I'm like, wow, it feels like a job instead of like just an
Yeah, that's
awkward
not
social interaction.
Weird at all. That's like literally, that's just visualization. That's
well, thank you. So, folks, those are like $20 on Amazon. They're great. They're usually for truckers, I think, a lot of times, because they wear them while driving. But I love it, and it's Bluetooth, and it works really well. I just hang it on my desk. So that's a tip if anyone needs one.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I love a little cheat code.
I'm gonna drink this. It's a seltzer, a THC seltzer, because I'm feeling wild today.
What? Well, what flavor is it?
Oh, it's black currant. Thank you for asking.
Why do you drink this week? Because I somehow killed 20 minutes probably talking in circles for people who
And the funniest thing
don't
is
have a
it's
house.
probably the same conversation we had next week.
Whatever.
less.
Why do you drink, girl?
Same reason, man. I'm just like, everything is so hard. Everything is so hard. And we didn't get to do, because I effed up, we didn't get to do the after chat for next week's episode yet. So I think for this one, I'm going to talk about for after this episode, we go on Patreon and we have like a chat afterward. I would love, because we don't have time now, to tell you on that call on Patreon what happened when I got on the phone with that psychic medium yesterday to talk about.
Yes. Okay. Great.
She and I had a really cool chat, and I have like so many things to update you, but I'll save that for Patreon because we don't really have time. Everyone's like, wait, we have to listen to this instead of talking about psychic mediums. But I'll put that on Patreon as like an after dark convo. So we'll do that after the episode. But anyway, I drink because I feel you, my friend, and I empathize, and I'm here for you if you need me.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I don't think you can help me with the things I need because I need someone to call. So
I mean, honestly, I feel like calling on someone else's like, what if we traded calls? Like, I wonder if that would be
fun.
better.
Yeah, I wonder. We could try that.
Because somebody actually recommended on TikTok, because you're on homeowner TikTok. I've never been on that, even though I own a home. I'm on fucking like phone call panic disorder TikTok, which is a very real thing, actually, believe it or not. And I saw somebody suggest, why don't you call and pretend like you're your own administrative assistant or secretary or partner or somebody. So it's almost like you remove yourself from the situation. Like, I'm calling on behalf of so-and-so, like Christine Schiefer, I'm setting her appointment, whatever. I've never tried it, but maybe that'll work. So if we switch and I say, hi, I work for M. Schultz. Actually, I'll say with. I don't want them to feel like there's an awkward power dynamic between the two of us. I'll say, I work alongside. No. I'll say, I work for M. Schultz. I would love to look into this power wire situation we've got going on. I don't know. We could try switching calls. Maybe that'll feel better.
We can try that. I also would think another way to gamify it would be like pretending that you're playing Truth or Dare with somebody and this is just your dare. Like, it's like...
Wait, we don't have to pretend. We can dare each other.
Okay, I dare you. I don't know. I don't want to do it. Okay,
I don't want to do it either, because now I'm like, well, don't make me do that. That's fucking mean.
It's a really cruel
That's
game.
the meanest dare I ever heard.
Oh, yeah. No, I like your idea.
God, I'm sorry, people.
We'll
if you
figure it
don't
out.
relate to this at all, you're probably like, God, these people are insufferable. I'm sorry. We're going to tell a story now.
Okay. Also, I'm drinking an El Foggy because it's...
Oh,
we're
good.
going through it.
An iced or a hot?
An iced. It's July.
Okay, but like, I didn't know if they made ice. That's all.
They do. Especially because I got it from my place where I'm like sadly probably their biggest regular.
Their biggest fan.
I am their biggest fan also. But now when I go in, they just ask me how many.
Oh, wow. Okay. And how many did you say today?
I usually say 2 because I always have to get 2 drinks all the time because one's for gulping, one's for savoring. And so
yeah, you did explain that to me recently, and I thought that was so smart. I was like that.
Oh, thank you.
It does make total sense to me.
Yeah, I'm a big gulper, and then once I'm done with the first one, after I've gulped it in 5 seconds, I'm like, man, I wish I really appreciated that. So that's why I got the second one. And I like the gulp. I'm not changing that, so I have to get the second one. So anyway,
yeah.
I've finished the gulp. Now we're on our sipper.
Beautiful.
Our second mate. I don't know. Our co-pilot.
Our co-pilot. Yeah.
I have a story for you, and I didn't start it until late.
Well, I will tell you that was my fault once again because I did move our Friday recording to yesterday and said, surprise, now we need 2 stories in a row. So I also did not start mine until yesterday.
Well, I lucked out because the story that I picked didn't have too much information out there. There were a lot of YouTube videos of people ghost hunting there. So if this piques your interest, you can head on over to those and see what's going on.
Cool.
But information-wise, it was actually a pretty cut to the point story. And I was like, that's exactly what I need. So we're talking about something in your neck of the woods. Where is Newark, Ohio?
Jersey? Oh. How though?
Okay.
I never heard of such a thing in my life. Oh, it's beautiful.
Great. Where is it?
40 miles east of Columbus. That is a place.
So you know her well.
Yeah, that is a place. Wait, you're not talking about Serpent Mound, are you? Or
No.
the Earthworks? Oh, okay.
Now I'll add it to the list, though.
Yeah, please do. I don't know. No. Zanesville? No. I don't know where this is. I'm sorry. I have no idea.
This is the old Licking County Jail.
Well, the Licking River, as you know, because it's near me, that's right by us. I almost moved into a house on the Licking River, and then I realized Gio would walk into the Licking River and probably never come out because he's not the smartest cookie. But it's
I told you before. I know I've mentioned this, but my mom desperately tried to nudge Allison and I into a house that's literally on the river in Fredericksburg and like constantly floods.
Yeah, you can see like the flood lines, and they're like, no, just ignore that. It's like, wait a minute.
It literally goes down like 9 flights, and only the top one is actually livable because
I mean, the videos you sent were fucking amazing, but it would definitely be more just like you bought it to do a haunted house attraction rather than live there. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, so this is the old Licking County Jail, and it opened in 1889 after 3 other jails failed in the area.
Cool.
I guess I'm assuming they were like conditions were or standards were changing, but also in 1889, I don't know like how 3 different jails passed.
Yeah, what does fail
standards.
mean? Did they fall over? Did people just keep escaping?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the first jails were built in like the 1800s, which I know is not true, but I feel like those are the ones that closed because the standards were not kept up.
Because they didn't have toilets and shit. Yeah.
Right. So how bad were the other ones for this to be the new one?
Yeah.
Well, this was the 4th jail to be built in the county. It was designed by J.W. Yost, who, if you are an architect fan in the area, apparently he is responsible for a lot of things going on in Ohio. He built apparently some of Ohio State University, and he's an architect. Apparently, the entire building cost $120,000 then to build.
$120,000 then. Okay, do we know how much?
In 1889.
Should I do it real quick?
Yeah. 1889, 120.
To 2024.
I love inflation calculators.
Wow. Okay, I guess it's not that crazy, but it feels crazy. $4.1 million.
Yoo-hoo. Oh my God.
That's a big fucking jump.
It makes sense though, because my next bullet point is that the jail looks very similar to like a castle or a mansion, like a very big estate. And I don't know if that was just of the time to have kind of like this Gothic Romanesque situation. But I know a lot of jails that I talk about that were built like 100 years ago were meant to be imposing as part of your punishment, or they were supposed to look like cathedrals in some way to like point you to Jesus while you're locked away.
And I feel like when you talked about the St. Augustine jail too, you said like it was also meant to fit into the town. Like it was meant to look
that one's
nice.
So interesting because that one was just like, I think it was Henry Flagler who built it.
Yes. Wow.
And there was an original jail, but they thought it was too much of an eyesore to the city and pity the city that would have to look over at a jail. So he created it to look beautiful just so he didn't have to go into his own town and be like, ugh.
Gross. Criminals. Ugh.
I know. So this one also looks like a castle. Maybe it was for the same effect of like keeping things beautiful in the area. And at the time, this was the best version of a jail the town had ever seen, which I feel like I say that every time I talk about a jail, that it was the up and coming prison of its day.
Wow.
It was made with pink sandstone, which, fun fact, is known as brownstone, even though it's pink.
Sandstone. Okay, brownstone. Not quite as charming sounding.
Apparently, it starts pink and very quickly fades to brown.
Okay.
Yuck. It was quarried nearby, so locally handcrafted. And the front 3 levels of the building were for the sheriff, the jail matron, and their families.
Okay.
And I did not know what a jail matron was. Do you know what a jail matron is?
No, sure don't.
It is the person responsible, basically the correctional officer for a women's ward.
Correctional officer for... Oh, okay. So
She just is responsible for the women's part of the prison.
But she's called a matron instead of like a cool title. Got it.
Yeah, it's jail matron.
Right. Okay.
Okay, girl. And I wonder, like, in the 1800s, I don't even think about women having jobs. So, I wonder, like, what the stereotype of a jail matron was back then. Like, what did she look like?
Yeah,
what was her
I wonder if
living
it's
situation?
sort of like a matronette, like a boarding house or a nun, mother superior. I imagine it's probably a very, like, strict persona, right? If you're, like, the head of all the women, quote-unquote, criminals, you have to, like, have an iron fist.
Eva says Mama Morton from Chicago. Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we know all about it already.
Yeah, okay. That actually totally solved half of my questions. Thank you, Eva.
Yeah.
But she, I guess, lives in one section. The sheriff lives in another section, and their families also live in the
She has a family.
front.
She's allowed to have a family, even though she works. Wow.
I wonder, or maybe she lives in, like, the Harry Potter closet of the sheriff and his family.
Maybe it was her many cats are her family, and they're like, okay, you can bring us.
Maybe because then the cats also get a job to, like, catch all the mice or something.
I mean, that's always important. Yeah.
So everyone's employed all of a sudden. I love that.
Love that.
The back part of the building was the actual prison, and there were 32 jail cells. Apparently, they were usually 8 by 8 in size, which is the size of my actual troll hole. Interesting.
8 by 8. Okay.
It was meant to be able to fill up 68 prisoners at one time in the jail. But sometimes it would get up to 100. When the conditions started getting really bad, there would be 6 people per cell. 6 people per cell.
6 people in the troll hole crammed together. Oh, boy.
Yeah, yuck. 3 floors were men, and the last floor, the 4th floor, the top floor, was for women. But in the 1970s, that was when the conditions started getting really, really bad, and there was a lot of overcrowding. Probably that was the time when people had 6 people to a cell.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, we're moving the women out, and we're going to send them somewhere else. And now we've got a whole 4th floor to, like, spread people out. And even that didn't work, and there was still overcrowding.
Great.
A confirmed 21, although some say up to 22 or 26 people died in this prison.
Oh.
And that was between 89 and it closed in 1987. So 2 years away from 100 years old.
Wow.
So basically in 100 years, just over 20, 25 people died.
I wonder, it feels like a lot, but I don't know. comparatively, if that's a lot for
It's
the
like
time.
one person every 4 years, basically, or
'Cause they
5,
didn't-
maybe for 5
It's
years.
like hard because they didn't really take care of people, especially criminals as well
Mm-hmm.
back then. So I'm like, I don't know if that's normal or if that's like a shocking number. I don't know.
Yeah, like what's the
the
average
average?
people how many people die in jail per year or something?
I don't know, man. It's probably too many, I'll tell you that. But
I do think if it was like in a penitentiary, I would be impressed that only one person dies every 5 years. But this
Right.
is also a jail where, like, at max, like 70 people are supposed to be there,
that's,
and one's
you know what?
dying
That's a
every few
really good
years.
point. So it feels like a lot because it's like a smaller amount of people. It's not just like
Yeah.
a massive complex. Okay, that's a really
Like
good point.
70 people, that was like my high school. Like we all knew everybody. It
Yeah.
was 70 people.
You're
So-
all dead now.
And
in
now,
this
like, at least
example.
you look around and like one in every 5 of you is going to be dead and eventually. So
Cool.
yeah. Oy. So yeah, people were dying mainly early on, which I think is interesting. Most people that were dying in the prison was due to like intoxication. So I don't know if they were like overdosing or they had alcohol poisoning
Oh
or
my god.
but it was
Intoxication. Whoa.
apparently that was like the main cause of death. And again, it could have been like misrepresented and they could have been dying from something else and they just happen to be drunk. Like, we don't know.
Right. Right.
A lot of the other deaths were suicides.
Oof.
Weirdly, 4 of the deaths, so that's like already a fifth of the people.
Yeah.
4 of the deaths were sheriffs who lived on the property and they kept dying from heart attacks. And then probably because you live on site with 70 prisoners.
Yeah.
But yeah, someone would have a heart attack. They'd bring in a new sheriff. He'd die of a heart attack. And it happened 4 times.
What the fuck?
Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
The other deaths, most of the deaths, like I said, though, were suicides, including 53-year-old Mae Vanner, who set herself on fire in the cell.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And the story goes that she was actually only put in jail for the night because she was supposed to be detoxing from either intoxication or some sort of overdose that she was on.
Oh,
so
shit.
she was just not in her right mind and wanted out. So
Sad.
other inmates who were incarcerated here were, and there's quite a list. One, his name is George Prokogan, and he shot one of the handlers at a brothel who was escorting him out before he was ready to leave.
Oh.
Another is a guy named Mark Heck, who robbed the inn he used to work at, and he killed his former co-workers in the process of the robbery.
Ooh.
Another one is this woman, Bernice Butler, who drunkenly shot and killed her husband, and her son witnessed it.
Oh, boy.
It was like their kid, too. It wasn't like an adult. Like,
Ooh.
she didn't mean to. She was just drunk and he got him, and the whole family was there and saw it
Ooh,
happen.
that's bad.
Then there's Walter Benjamin Robertson, who was also known as the Proposal Day murderer because he killed his fiancee the same day he proposed. Yikes.
What?
Isn't that something?
I need more of these, like, serial killer names. I found someone yesterday as I was doing research for today that I almost did, and it was what did they call her? Oh my god, Christine. I bookmarked it, which I haven't done in a long time, as like a future
Ooh.
story. Her name was one moment. The Crystal Ball Murderer.
Oh,
I know. I was like, how have I not heard of this? She's the fortune teller murderer or the crystal ball murderer. So I've bookmarked that for a future
my God.
story. But yeah, so I love these wild names they give.
I love a name. Not to say that, like, I think, like, serial killers are notorious enough that
No.
they deserve a name, but in a fun, like, hash-slinging slasher from SpongeBob thing, if I had to come up with a name for myself, obviously
almost
I would,
like they
I would
all
take people up
have-
on that.
Yeah, it's like they all have some sort of wild name, and some of them are just so out there. Like a crystal ball murderer. What does that even mean? You know, but like
Yeah.
I'm sure the newspapers ran with it.
Well, there was also Thaddeus, which I love that name. I think that's
a great name.
such a weird ass name and so
I
old
love
school.
it.
Thaddeus and Gary Lewington,
Okay.
aka the Blood Brothers, aka the 22 caliber serial killers.
Oh my god, pick a name.
I know. I love how they were still like shopping it when they got caught.
They're like, wait, can we please pick a name first before you arrest us?
Can you white that out on the paperwork? I don't like that one
can we
anymore.
write it in pencil in case we change our minds?
Well, the two of them, apparently they were robbers across 3 different counties and had killed 10 people before they got found.
Oh, boy.
And then there were 18-year-olds Louis Angel and Harmon Cordray, who went AWOL from the Marines, went hitchhiking to Ohio, and then killed the guy who bummed them a ride named Alan Drake.
Oh.
There's also the milkshake murderer, which ring ding ding, old school, and that's why we drink.
Oh, yeah, we've covered that, right?
George Burton.
I know I did the milkshake murderer because it was like a whole
Because obviously
it was like such an let me look it up, and maybe it's a different one. Milkshake murderer. Is that what his name is?
He shot a server named Wanda who gave him a milkshake that was not filled to the line.
Wait, what was his name again? Sorry.
George Burton.
No, maybe I haven't. I think that was one that I saw back in the day, and then I was like, well, there's really not much to it. He just shot somebody because they didn't do the milkshake right.
That's exactly right. Apparently he actually was so pissed at her and was like, "You're cheating me out of my fucking milkshake. I'm gonna come back here with a gun," and then left. And I think she just thought like, okay, that was like an idle threat, and he literally came back with a gun and shot her.
Oh my God! Okay, so that is fully premeditated. Sure.
Mm-hmm. Woof. And then and then one of the women who stayed in this prison was 72-year-old Laura Devlin, aka the Handsaw Slayer.
What? Who are all these people?
In the 1800s, you had nothing to do. You might as well pick a name. It's
might as well, and nobody's taken it yet, right?
Yeah.
Like they're for the choosing, for the taking.
Well, they say she was allegedly being abused by her husband. I don't know if that's true. If it is not true, it's used as a way to justify her actions, I guess. But they got in a fight at one point. She finally snaps. She kills him. She dismembers him with a handsaw, throws his torso into the backyard, and then takes all of his limbs and head and bakes them.
What? Oh, I was not expecting that. Why don't they call her something else about the baking?
Yeah, the handsaw baker or something.
The handsaw is not as interesting as the rest. Like, Jesus.
They get so then she wrote a letter to herself as evidence that he died, saying that she got this letter from his family in Philadelphia, and while he was there, he passed away. So if anyone ever came asking about him, she could show them the letter. The mailman shows up being like, "Where is your husband?" And she shows him a letter that says, he died. Mm-hmm. He's like, 1, I'm your fucking mailman. I don't remember ever giving you this letter.
Yeah.
And 2, Philadelphia is spelled wrong, so it wouldn't have. So people who live in Philadelphia would have known how to spell that. And 2, you drew the stamp on.
Shut up, girl! You couldn't even spare a fucking 2 pennies or whatever for a stamp to seal the deal.
Well, so then he calls the police, and they get to her house, and she is allegedly found burning the rest of his limbs in the stove to get rid of evidence.
Oh God, this is so disturbing. Okay.
The last person I will mention who was an inmate here, this is the most famous story at the jail, is of 17-year-old Carl Etherington. He was a dry agent detective for the Anti-Saloon League of Ohio.
I knew it. These fucking prohibitionists. Blech.
Also, Anti-Saloon League is just like, what a cool way of saying losers.
Yeah, fucking nerds. Fucking squares.
I just say, I'm a dry agent detective. Shut up, Mariska. What are you talking about? Like, come on, you're fine.
Come on, get a hobby. Leave us alone.
And he's also 17. It's like, of course, it's a fun game
17?
for you, and you can't even drink. Yeah,
you get a badge. Of course, you want to be the dry whatever the fuck.
It says like junior park ranger or something.
Seriously, like you are a little too big for your britches, my friend.
Well, so this is in 1910, and he was tasked with raiding a bunch of saloons and speakeasies in the area. And during the raid, every single source told me a different story. It's either a dirty cop he runs into or one of the local saloon owners that everybody loved. But it's someone that the city seems to care about because they're on their side of like keeping all of the bars open.
Right.
He ends up in like fisticuffs with this person in self-defense shoots the guy and the guy dies. So now the town is fucking pissed. They're like, this nerd came in and just shot up the guy who was giving us booze. What are you talking about?
Oh no.
So this 1,000-person mob starts forming through town. And
by the way, I'm so sorry. We're recording
was
this
that
July.
storm?
No, it's fucking fireworks. It's July 3rd, and I keep
oh.
forgetting, and so I'm like so jumpy because it keeps.
It sounded like a storm. That made me so jealous.
I wish. No, it's a fucking fireworks, and we live like right on the river, so it like carries, not the Licking River, a different one, but it like fucking carries and like blasts through our house. It's very alarming. Anyway, if you hear it, that's what that
poor
is.
puppy
and I
dog.
apologize.
Poor
He doesn't
Gio.
give a shit. It's mostly me that's concerned. Like nobody else cares, just me.
Well, yeah. So a mob forms in town, being like, oh, we have to go, like, get this guy.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Again, the sources feel different, but either because he shot and killed somebody, he ended up in jail, or a lot of sources say to keep him to give him protective custody from the mob, they just put him in jail for the night.
Oh.
But if it's the version where he shot a dirty cop, I imagine he's like now in jail with friends of this dirty cop in charge of the jail for the night.
You're in trouble.
And either way, the mob goes to the jail knowing that's where he is. They probably, because the cops were just as mad at him being there, because they all seemed to be dirty in the prohibition space.
Yeah.
I think they just literally unlocked the fucking door to the jail and just let this mob come in. Like, they say like the mob broke in. It sounds like they really just like waltzed in.
Oh, they had a key. At least
they like had a key. Yeah. They find his cell. Somehow it's like a big ass heavy metal Queen Mary door. So they say they broke in. No, I think a cop literally gave them the key, or they stormed the jail, found the keys, and
that
opened the door.
happens too. I feel like, yeah.
They find him. They beat the shit out of him with a hammer.
Oh, God.
Nearly to death. Then they drag him through the jail out to the town square, take him to a utility pole, and hang him.
My
allegedly for the rest of the week, 5,000 townspeople came to see his body.
Oh, my Lord.
He was white, in case anyone's wondering, because I was nervous when I saw lynch mob in my notes. So not that it matters, but in case anyone was having thoughts about that. But also the thing that's most important to me is like this guy was 17.
That is disturbing. I know back then it was like, oh, well, he's an adult basically, but like he's not,
right.
You know.
Either way, he's like the most notorious death to happen there, because it was definitely the most traumatic.
Very, at the very least.
The governor of Ohio like fired the mayor and the sheriff and all the cops all in one fell swoop after that, because they're like, how on earth did any of this happen? And like, how did people get into this jail and just take one of your prisoners and hang them for the entire town to fucking see? And everyone was fine with it. And I think it was like 60 people were indicted for like murder and battery and rioting. So,
woof.
Rough time. So now fast forward to the 70s, this jail is falling apart. Ohio has issued new standards for state jails, and like this place couldn't even begin to pretend that they were up to code. From the very, I mean, by this point, it was already falling apart and the conditions were terrible. And so when they came up with this like new set of standards, the jail was like, oh,
they're like,
fuck.
throw their hands up.
Yeah.
No chance.
So by 1987, so they survived for almost another decade, like despite breaking every single code possible. The conditions got worse. It ended up closing in the 80s. It reopened as offices and storage space until 2012, and then in 2012, interest was piqued in restoring the jail, so they decided to do what every jail I cover seems to do, which is open a haunted house and do ghost tours in the jail to raise the funds to preserve it.
Yeah, I guess once you see one jail doing it, you're like, well, we might as well.
It's always weird to me when haunted places run Halloween houses.
I agree. It feels like, ooh, how far...
Yeah.
It feels like a gray area a little bit.
I feel like I understand like this is the perfect space historically.
Right.
If it's already haunted, makes sense why it'd become a Halloween thing. But also it doesn't feel enough like a TV or movie set where I can just enjoy my time here. I feel like I'm part of my head is like, oh, people actually did die here. This is like kind of fucked up.
Yeah, it feels kind of like that strange combo of like push and pull. Like, well, yeah, I want to just like be like, ooh, creepy, but also like, oh no, someone was hanged outside. Multiple people were. Yeah, it feels strange. Yeah,
especially when like the ghosts of the Halloween attraction are homages in some twisted way of the ghosts. Like Queen Mary, every Halloween they do a thing, and one of the people who died on the Queen Mary was John Petter, who got cut in half by a door.
Yeah.
And one of the whole attractions is just like John Petter and like half of his body. I think I remember seeing like a spirit Halloween half body pressed into a door.
Oh,
I was like,
my
Lord.
God. So they're like, see? Oh.
Yeah. I don't know if they still do that, but I remember like 10 years ago they were doing it, and I was like, oh, that feels a little off, but
okay,
whatever. So this place, oh my God, I'm being summoned.
That? Summoned
by my own alarm. What is going on? Why does my phone keep thinking it's time to like go into battle?
Oh my God, that scared the bejesus out of me.
It scared me too, but that's the only way I wake up from things.
Yeah, you do. I mean, I remember we stayed in a recently like adjoining hotel rooms, and I like
I'm so
like,
sorry.
This. No, it was fine because I was actually already awake, I think, which is why it was so startling. I was like on my phone and I just heard this like Wah! And I thought like, oh, this is the end. Okay. Nope, it's just M rolling out of bed.
And not even, because Allison takes videos of me where that, I mean, it's like the Avengers, like, we're summoning you to go fight a battle song. Like, it's it's a loud song. And I sleep with my phone like this next to my head. So that way the speaker will be directly at my ear. And Allison will take videos of me just completely sleeping through it. Like,
how have you gotten tested for sleep apnea? Like, how are you sleeping through that?
I don't know. I've slept through 3 fire alarms
or like
so far.
narcolepsy or something. I feel like there's quite a bit of.
There's something going on.
That's alarming a little bit. So to
I
speak.
really just, once I'm asleep, I'm truly fucking not of this planet anymore for a little bit.
Okay. All right.
So it has to be really loud. But I don't know. I don't know if there's a condition going on. I haven't looked further into it.
That's for another day. We have enough stress on our plates right now. Let's not even think about it.
That's a future M problem.
It's a future M.
Anyway, this jail is created the Syndicate Haunted House Group, and they did spell it Sin.
Oh, that's fun.
I do like that.
I do.
And then they also have their Preservation Society, and they work hand in hand to do preservation efforts, including the Jail of Terror, which is the seasonal Halloween haunted house.
I'm the worst. I'm like, ooh la la. That's so cute. They're like, no, it's terrible.
Well, my favorite thing that I do really like this part is apparently this jail is notorious, apparently through Ohio, as one of the most haunted places in Ohio. And the Jail of Terror, because every Halloween haunted jump scare house has to have a theme. Mm-hmm. The theme is you are ghost hunting at the jail.
Oh, that's kind of fun.
So this is a quote from someone. It says, "It's based on paranormal ghost hunts. You start off like you're in a ghost hunt, and it just gets worse until you get to the basement."
Oh, so but they're like acting like you're getting.
I guess so.
You're like playing a character, and it's like, oh, stuff is going on, like a murder mystery almost. Like they're having words come through and stuff. Like they're.
I haven't seen it. I have no idea, but I do know that the theme is you are ghost hunting there, and people are jumping out at you. So maybe you're just like a really successful ghost hunter, and all the ghosts are coming out. I have no idea.
All right.
But also, can you imagine in like one of the most haunted jails? And like the basement or the dungeon is like notoriously the most haunted and the scariest. Imagine being paid certainly not enough to have to just sit in one of those cells all night waiting for somebody to come through.
Point. It's like it's not even for the people going through. It's like for the people who are acting there. They don't get to just go to like a strip mall and hang out in the dark. Yeah. Like they have to be in like an abandoned haunted ass prison for real and pretend to scare people. Like You're so right. That is the worst of both worlds. Yeah.
Hopefully the sounds of like people like having fun and like creepy music and everything is is kind of distracting you from the truth. But I mean, I have seen pictures and video of this basement and it is fucking scary looking. So I can't imagine being like the first one down there as you're like getting ready for the night and like opening up, you know? Ugh.
That feels like not the job for me.
Not at all.
Mm-mm.
Well, this place is incredibly haunted. The old Licking County Jail is widely considered one of the most haunted places in the state. And people encounter cell doors slamming. They feel themselves getting touched. They have heard whispering in their ear. They've heard whistling, keys jingling, moaning. They've seen shadows and lights. They've heard footsteps. They've heard giggling. From children and adults, there's laughter.
Ew, giggling of adults. I feel like we always say giggling of kids, but giggling of adults is also really bad.
Ugh, to hear an adult
like, who's giggling?
What are you talking about? People see full-blown apparitions. People's electronics batteries die. They have seen black masses just appear and vanish right before you. People have gotten shoved, and people have also gotten attachments where something follows them home.
Oh, no.
And, of course, there's just EVPs and orbs abound. People have also heard crying. People have seen, when they knew they were in a group of a certain amount of people, they have noticed someone else following them.
Ew.
People have heard screams so loud. This is specifically construction workers who have done like restorations here. They have heard screams so loud coming from rooms that are now walled up. And the screams, they've had to raise the volume on their music they bring with them just to muffle out the screams and finish their shift.
Can you imagine someone's like, no, I'm really stuck in here. And they're like,
I know.
turning up some Billy Joel. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Oh my God, that's so awful. Well, yeah, can confirm nothing should be going on back there.
Yeah.
In the area that was once the sheriff's family's home, people get really sick and even pass out. And in the dungeon, people feel themselves getting grabbed all the time. They see shadows darting around corners. Heavy chairs have gotten thrown by themselves. And people feel this really intense, oppressive presence that makes them immediately want to leave. Some even claim that throughout the jail, you can see Carl trying to escape from a group of people.
Oh, that's sad. Oh,
That's
no.
so sad.
Yeah.
The jail has been featured on several programs, including Resident Undead, a movie called God Don't Make the Laws, and then our favorite, Zach Bagans has inserted himself into the narrative.
Obviously.
So obviously I have to talk about that. I will say this episode was like pulling teeth trying to find it online. I don't know why. I don't know what Zachary's fucking deal is.
He's everywhere.
He is everywhere and nowhere all at once. It's like he has some deal where you have to join. He is Jesus.
Well,
I mean, have you seen that big ass cross tattoo on every inch of his body?
You know what? I have, and he showed some nuns in one episode, and they were pissed off. Oh, well, dead ones, to be clear.
Of course. Well, I don't know what his deal is. I feel like he has a contract with 6 different streamers, and they all get a certain set of episodes.
And then they trade them around or whatever.
It's so fucking annoying. I literally added myself to 3 different subscriptions last night,
and
then
they all have like fake names. They're like, join like the Mewtwo channel, and you're like,
yes.
What?
Yes.
And they're like, it's only $69.99 a year, and you're like, and now you don't even have the episode you promised me.
Exactly. I had to cancel immediately because they said, oh, it's on this random network. So then I joined that network, and then it wasn't there, or it said like, oh, this episode's coming out next year in 2025. No. And so I had to cancel it and then join. Anyway, I found it on Roku.
Oh, okay.
I don't have a Roku, by the way. I just joined Roku last night so I could watch this stupid thing. I'm now officially a population 1 more of Roku City. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
So anyway, I joined Roku for everybody, and I watched this episode. And since apparently
thank you. I think I'm seeking some gratitude from us. So thank you,
Since he wants to gatekeep this episode from you, I found it, and we're going to talk about it, so no one else has to struggle like I did.
Okay.
I'm such a martyr. And the first line of the episode is him looking at you through a jail cell door.
I'm sure.
And he says, in many ways, a jail is worse than a prison.
What?
And that's where it starts. So I thought, excellent, great start.
Okay, yeah, we're in it now. You're like, Roku, thank you. Thank you,
He
Roku.
also he was walking with purpose. I know that the director was like, we need you to walk down the hall. Like, usually he's standing with his arms crossed in front of the building when he says his little shtick in the beginning.
And then they zoom.
Every scene, I feel like they forgot to do some scenes where he's walking and some where he's standing. All of them, he's walking in a different direction to finish the sentence he started in the last clip.
Oh,
he's
fun.
just walking. He's all about that walking life.
Okay, but I love that. Maybe that's why they didn't put it on. They like took it off all the streaming platforms. He's like, I don't want anyone to see this. Like, just give it to Roku.
And he's not walking like a normal person either. He's walking like he's trying to find a bathroom right now. Like,
that's why sometimes a jail is worse than a prison. No bathrooms in sight.
It must be. And so, anyway, he's letting you know his opinion on jails and prisons. Then he interviews this guy named Eric, who is now a paranormal investigator, but was once, I think, like a local cop who actually brought people to this jail.
Oh.
So perfect marrying of
he has like
two
special
situations.
Insight.
Yeah, now he investigates there at night, which is, it's got to be so weird. I would make it my whole personality in that building that like I had seniority to others if I knew what it looked like when it was in operation.
Oh, yeah. You'd be like, that actually, don't lean on that. That's an original 1895 steel
like,
bar.
Something really great happened in that room, but I guess you had to be there.
Yeah, you had to be there. It was like just to be clear, I was there.
I was there, which is why I'm allowed to talk about it.
Yeah.
If you talk about it to somebody and you act like you were there, I will let everyone know you weren't there. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm watching you all the time because this is my jail, actually. Yeah.
So he tells Zach, he was like, yeah, we hear people cussing like visitors out all the time. We've seen people get scratched. And mid-interview, Zach hears a sound upstairs, which happens to be Carl's cell. They
mid-interview, I love when that happens.
I do love it. That does feel like something that he can't always control unless he's hired Aaron to like do some jumping jacks upstairs. Like, so actually,
unless he's hired
so
Aaron
easy.
to go far away, and Aaron is like, "I'm bored. I'm gonna do a cartwheel."
Yeah.
That I feel like that's more likely.
So this cop turned investigator, he says, oh yeah, I'll go with you. We'll both go look at Carl's cell. And he does say, we've gotten EVPs from this room, which they play, and they are very creepy, of a man's voice very clearly saying, I'm Carl, help me.
Yikes.
And it's very clear. It's not
sad.
It's a class A EVP.
I wonder.
Bruh.
It makes me sad that he has to say, I'm Carl. Like,
yeah.
Instead of, because you sometimes hear like, help me, and that's really scary. But the fact that he's like, I'm Carl, I got killed, help me. Like, ooh.
Or like, I'm Carl, I know you know my story,
yes,
because we both know how fucked up that what happened to me was. Like, you know like why you need to help me. The guy you're talking about on camera, that's me. I'm Carl. I know, Goosecam for sure. By the way, the psychic medium was like, oh, when I get goosebumps, I know that. Yeah, I know. I was like, I'm sure whatever you were going to say at the end of that sentence was beautiful. And so, I don't care.
I actually made that noise before she finished speaking, so I have no fucking clue what she said, which is why I just kind of repeated it in the exact same fashion that it originally happened. Yeah, I just started screaming.
Well, so they go to his cell, they ask him to show himself, and immediately Jay's camera dies. And it was like, this was like mid-interview, so it was early in the day. The cameras were definitely charged. And also, they even show his camera and Aaron's camera that were off the same charging dock, and Aaron's camera's still at like 70%, and Jay's just drops dead immediately.
Whoa.
Then they're talking to this investigator named Carla, who has a chihuahua named Shaq. And... apparently, Carla, whenever she investigates, she brings Shaq with her to the house. Can you imagine being this tiny little chihuahua who your stereotype is to already be shaky and riddled with anxiety?
Oh,
and now
you're
being brought to this dark-ass, abandoned, haunted jail just so you can be used.
First of all, like
as
every
a
other
ghost detecting
chihuahua
tool.
ever, you've been named something so much bigger and stronger than yourself. sort of implying that you are ready to fight, even though you're just a shaky little guy. And then they're like, anyway, come on, time for work.
Time for work where, like, you did not ask for this. You're just too small to escape me.
Poor baby Shaq.
But so she says, oh, Shaq always barks when something's near. So, like, Shaq, justice for Shaq. Get Shaq
Shaq's
out of there.
on the case, Yeah.
And so this is when Zach he says, oh, hi, Shaq. I'm Zach. Love that.
Okay, cute.
And then he says, oh, Shaq like barks anytime there's a ghost in the room. And then he announces to the camera, he says, everybody, this is the canine version of a Melmeter, which is actually pretty funny.
Oh my God. Okay, I guess.
He's very into the dog being a living version of Ghost Tools. So then
kind of cute. I get it.
In the matrons area, the investigators catch a video, not the investigators like the GAC, Ghost Avengers crew.
Right.
Shaq and his humans are the investigators I'm talking about.
Oh, I see.
In the matrons area or the woman's area, the 4th floor, they've caught in the past a video of a see-through apparition peeking out around a door frame, and it does look really fucking creepy.
I fucking hate that. I don't like it.
Then one of the investigators tells Zach, oh, we had a spirit box session one time, and we got this voice, creepy by the way, creepy man voice, saying, I'm David.
Nobody asked.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, David. Go away.
Thanks.
So they get, I'm David, and then they took a picture of the room, and a literal man is standing in the corner.
Oh!
Literal man. You cannot
He's like,
deny.
yeah, I just told you I was here.
Yeah.
Everyone starts screaming.
On that same investigation, one of the investigators, or I don't know if she's an investigator or just someone who works the jail and she was there that night. Her name is Misty. She is way too young to be dealing with bullshit like this, but she is on this investigation, probably for fun, of course. And she starts hearing her name getting called.
Uh-oh.
And they ask David, because they also, they get this one really creepy EVP, and clear as day, it's a man going, hey, Misty. So then they ask David if he's the one saying the name.
You're a pervert, David. Are you a pervert?
Well, it was a men's prison, and he'd probably never seen a woman in quite some time.
So may I ask again, how old is Misty?
She feels like a late teen or an early 20s.
Okay. Hopefully not. Okay. Hopefully not a child.
I don't think there was anything illegal going on, but she certainly was too young to be dealing with
it is a
this.
ghost, so I don't know if that's illegal to begin with, but yeah,
Sure.
I do understand what you're saying. Maybe not as bad as it sounds. Okay.
Well, so they ask David, are you the one saying her name? And he responds in the spirit box, we love her.
Ew.
They play this EVP. It actually really is so creepy. It's, hey, Misty.
Ugh.
Zach interviews Misty. She says that after that night, David has attached himself to her, and now there's a shadow man that walks through her house at night.
Oh,
I can't even think.
No. Oh, no. That's the worst thing. You don't want to bring that home.
She didn't want to scare her family, and also her dad doesn't seem like much of a believer. So she didn't want to say anything and seem crazy. And then her dad told her he'd been seeing a shadow man walking through the house.
The dad who's not into this whole thing. Oh,
yeah.
No. And he didn't even know. Oh.
So now there's 2 people who are seeing the shadow person. And then her little sister starts feeling something staring at her around the house. And one time even something touches her on the back. So the whole family is dealing with this thing now. Zach halts the show. He says, Misty, this jail, don't know her. We're investigating your house.
Oh, what?
So they go to her house.
They go to Misty's house? Her dad's like, are you fucking kidding me right now?
12 minutes into this episode, they say, nope, we are going to Misty's instead.
This is hysterical. Okay.
They turn on the spirit box, and right away, hey, Misty.
Forget it. Are you serious?
Misty is wigging out, and so am I.
I am too.
Every time, and Zach even says, while we're there, making sure that he's in the room, because he's attached to you, you need to be saying, you need to leave this house, you're not welcome, blah, 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 blah. I don't know if that's actual proper protocol, but okay, whatever, that's what he told her to do. So she's saying, you need to leave this house, you need to leave this house. Every time she says it, the REM pod next to her freaks the fuck out.
Uh-oh.
Zach, here is a quote from him. I decide now is the time to be more aggressive with this spirit, to hopefully force it out of the home.
I was really holding back and being gentle, but now I have no other choice.
Also, this poor girl is now being fucking haunted by a poltergeist that I don't know if I have any control over, but let's stir some shit up and then leave.
Sheer lunacy.
At the time he starts up, an orb is actually seen shooting into Misty's head. It is a weird looking orb. It shoots into her head, and then she grabs her head like something touched her.
Ooh.
The next day, after looking through the footage from her house, he goes to Misty's family and says, yeah, it's definitely haunted. Okay. The dad, by the way, Misty, not that I think that you listen to the show, but if you happen to come across this, I got to be honest, your dad did not seem helpful. He clearly is not a believer. He was giving the energy like, oh, my kid gets to like be on Ghost Adventures, so I'll be there too. But when they were saying, this is what's happening to your kid in your own fucking house, like wake up and like pay attention to her, something scary is going on, he was like, man, that's cool. Like,
Ooh.
I was like, you're not giving the energy
Wrong
that's
vibe,
needed here.
Man.
Yeah, he was not reading the room very well. Anyway, again, Misty, if you hear this, I hope I was wrong. I hope that you got the help that you needed, because I have a feeling Zach did not actually help get rid of anything in your house.
No, you don't say.
If he did, please correct me, but I would bet at least 50 of my dollars that
Wow.
that he did not. And also on top of it, it seems like no wonder you didn't want to tell your dad, because he's giving the vibe that he would have made fun of you.
Yeah.
I hope you're okay.
I also hope you're okay.
Zach then basically says, sorry, Charlie, we've probably stirred shit up, and now we're going to go investigate this jail that our producers paid for. Bye. So he really just...
Anyway, so yeah, we just made it so much worse. See ya.
Anyway, have a fun night sleeping here as we just...
And arguing with your dad.
So they now go back to the jail. Sorry, Misty, hope all is well.
Eek.
They decide that they want to look for the spirit that was peeking around the door frame in one of the investigators' footages.
Okay.
So that's their goal. They're looking for this person.
It's a little creep.
TBD on if they were ever found. Let's be clear.
Some say they're still looking to this very day.
They go to the basement or the dungeon. Apparently 5 people have died here. I actually do think this is like so... It could have been footage from when you and I go ghost hunting, because it's footage of him looking at his equipment as he's walking down the stairs, and he's going by himself. And this place actually is so scary. It's the room
Zach?
where there's Zach. He's going into the dungeon by himself. There's apparently that super oppressive thing who like throws chairs around. And he keeps saying as he's walking down, he does seem like uncharacteristically scared. He's like, I really don't want to be here.
That never happens.
As he's walking down the stairs, you hear at the bottom of the stairs a cell door slam super hard. And you see him stop in his tracks and go, what the fuck was that? And then he says, all of a sudden, I'm standing here not really wanting to go down these stairs. I don't want to be here.
I have some... Maybe that's why they don't play it on any other channel. Because he's I got genuinely scared. Yeah.
Oh, it's like... It gets even worse because he goes downstairs. Before he even gets through the door, he's like, I hate this feeling. I don't want to be here. You literally see him recoiling from the room and like backing away. And then you see him like hide from the camera and like giving himself a pep talk. Like he's... Oh
my God, stop. He's like, roses, roses.
Spring of the year. No, but he's literally like, you could hear him go, what the fuck's wrong, man? Like, what's going on?
Oh, buddy. I never thought I'd feel like a little bit of pity, but wow.
He's like clearly so rattled. He's like so freaked out to be down there. But he like gets it together, and he even says in like the voiceover, he's like, I've been in so many scary rooms, like why this one is fucking with me, I don't know, but I'm so rattled. So he gets down there, almost backs out, gives himself a pep talk. He gets himself together and goes back into the room and acts all tough. And he really goes and balls to the wall, because he then says, are you mad that I took Misty away from you?
Oh, jeez.
No
you
wonder
gotta
he
go
didn't want
there?
No wonder he didn't want to like go into that room. He knew he was going to piss something off.
He already had plans.
So then he hears a voice on the spirit box, or he just hears it in real time, but he hears a voice. They're able to replay it, and it sounds like something saying kingdom come.
Ugh.
Because he hears it, I don't know if it's through a machine or what, but he hears it in real time. He fucking bails. He's like, that was, I tried.
Enough for me. Enough.
And then he makes Nick go in his place.
Uh-huh.
So then Nick eventually also hears a sound in one of the cells while feeling like pressure on his chest. And when he asks for another noise or sign, Nerve Center loses 2 of their cameras at the same time. from
not
different
the,
floors.
That's not the sign you want. Like if I said, give me a sign and like all my shit turned off, I'd be like, I get that that's a sign, but I should have been more specific. Not that sign.
I also don't know which one it was, but I would be even more freaked out if through the walkie-talkies you heard them saying, your camera went out, you're by yourself, we can't see anything.
Exactly, like you can't communicate anymore. It's like, well, okay, I should have really specified. I still want my connection to humanity. Please don't cut me off from the world.
Which it feels very symbolic of like, now we've trapped you, like no one's coming to help you with whatever we've got
you're
going
in jail.
on. Yeah. Which is worse than a prison. So
honestly, I've always said that.
I always will. One of the X cameras comes back on, but like the footage is fried. Like it looks like all like fucked up and glitchy. But the one on the 4th floor in the women's ward stays completely shut off. And that's where Nick keeps hearing noises above him on the 4th floor. And all of a sudden the camera is out. So he goes up there by himself. So round of applause to Nick. He goes up there by himself and he finds that the X camera has completely died again, which this is now the second camera to die because during their walkthrough earlier, a camera died up there. Remember?
Yes.
So now this is the second camera. He apparently had a fanny pack with a brand new battery in it when he went up there. So he went, okay, I'm just going to replace it while I'm here. 12 seconds later, as he's just turning around and walking away, the camera dies. And it was a fully charged battery.
That's when you're like, okay, this is not just a fluke. Like if it keeps happening with new batteries, that's not good.
In 12 seconds, I've never heard of a camera draining that fast.
Especially that it started. It's not like, oh, the camera's completely busted. It won't even turn on. Like the fact that it started back up and then died. Ugh.
So now that's the third battery to die, brand new battery to die in the room. Then they get this unclear voice in the spirit box when he asks about Misty, but something's talking to him. We just don't know what it was saying. Then he sees something and takes off downstairs. Like he's not even responding to the walkie-talkies. They're like, what's going on? What did you see? And he's just flying down the stairs. He's like, fuck this. He's like not
None
even talking
of your fucking business.
He was like, I don't care that we're doing a TV show. I'm out of here.
Wow.
So now he gets back to Nerve Center and the whole squad goes together because they're all scared.
All holding hands.
They hear banging on the 4th floor, the women's ward, again. They go up there. The 4th battery is dead.
I love that the ghost is like, come back here. I killed your camera again.
I know. But also, I would be so petrified of like, that's 4 batteries worth of energy you've charged yourself up with. Like, how powerful are you?
Ew, I hadn't thought of it like that.
They later have the local investigators listen to the evidence and the spirit box voices. And the investigator confirms that it sounds like David. And that's where it ends on that episode of Ghost Adventures. Which that's actually a good one. Why wouldn't you have that one everywhere?
That's a kick-ass episode. I wonder why they're holding back on us.
Like lots of evidence. Zach is actually scared. Like you do a whole separate side investigation. Like I don't know why they canceled that one, but
that's so weird. I wonder why. I wonder if they're just out like in a different cycle right now. Like it's just going to be back on.
Anyway, if you need an account to Roku, I'll send you my login so that you can watch it.
I do need an account. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh my gosh. That was a good one, especially for a last minute one.
Yeah, I thought so too. Well, usually when we do a last minute one, I'm just going to go watch a Ghost Adventures episode and figure it out.
Find this topic, which I kind of love too, but I love that you were like, I'll do this topic. And then you're like, shit, they won't let me watch the Ghost Adventures episode. Like this is supposed to be easy.
And I was so tired. I was literally like doing like the thing where I'm like nodding. And I already knew I had to keep it together for another 45 minutes to watch the episode. And it took 45 minutes to find the episode. I was so fucking over
wonder
it.
you fall asleep like a rock. I mean,
I just hit the ground. Anyway, I'm glad you liked it. I was surprised that for something I had to do last minute, it was a very good episode.
Well, I'm glad too. And I actually left. I had it downstairs. Actually, can I run and pee? Because I have a prop to bring. No, it's a good prop. It's about you. It's like something you did. That makes it sound better, right?
Okay. You have piqued my curiosity. So
all right,
absolutely.
I'm going to mute myself. I'll be right back.
I don't know if this is going to make it in, but when Christine says I have to go get something downstairs, she has to run down like 5 flights of stairs. So we might be here alone together for a while. You catching your breath from all those stairs, huh?
Yeah, it's a lot of stairs. Okay, so I brought our new book. Here it is. Ooh la la. Because I thought I'd do like a little teaser. I cover a story from an upcoming chapter of the book because I realized as I was doing the audiobook portion of it, like recording it, which you have not done yet, right?
Nope.
I just did mine the other day. It was super fun. And while I was doing it, I realized how few of these stories I've ever covered on the podcast. Like, I think there's only 2 of mine that are...
I really tried to only do new stories for the book.
Yeah, so I thought, why not do like a little teaser of one? And of course, I'm not just going to read the chapter. Like, that would be hilarious. But
can you imagine if you just did like a dramatic reading of your own fucking book?
And you have to just be quiet the whole time because I'm reading.
The irony of also like a podcast and an audiobook kind of actually really being the same thing. I mean, a jail is better than a prison, so like a podcast is better than an audiobook, but they are very similar.
By the transitive property, we all know that to be true. No, and as I was doing the audiobook, it was so funny. The guy afterwards was like, wow, it really sounds like you were just talking, not reading. And I was like, well, that's the one perk of my job is that I learned how to pretend like someone's listening to me.
That's very nice of you to... Did you like your guy who...
Oh, yeah, he was great.
Am I working with him, do you think?
No, because I'm in Cincinnati.
I didn't know if you were going to have like if it was through Zoom or something.
Oh, no, it's his store. It's his studio here in Cincinnati. So I went to his studio, but... which last year I did it just over Zoom, and this one felt much more professional because I had to stand.
You stood? Oh
yeah.
Wow. I went to a recording studio and they absolutely gave me a seat.
Damn. Okay. Well, next time I know.
Yeah.
But I did feel like that kind of thing of like, oh, singers, they have to like open their chest, you know.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Work on my instrument.
Yeah. Of course, your instrument. Keep her together. Yeah.
Me. You wouldn't want to lose that, would you, folks? Okay. So I wouldn't want to put that at risk. So here's our beautiful book. Probably 99% of you are not on video, but we're very proud of it. It's called A Haunted Road Atlas Next Stop. Again, this was not part of the plan. It
comes out September 29th, and please pre-order. It's very important to us that you pre-order.
I'm pretty sure it's September 24th, but I could be wrong. Yeah, it's one of those days.
It's the last week of September, and pre-orders are very important to our sales. So instead of purchasing later, please purchase now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So this is the Indianapolis chapter. It took me a while to pick one, but I am going to do the Indianapolis chapter, which is a story about the Claypool Hotel. And interestingly, so we have read the book, right? So folks, like, we have read these chapters, but it was like 9 months ago that we read them for the last time, and B, we don't remember anything. So I'm thinking M's not going to know what this is right away.
Not even a little bit. It would be interesting to see if my comments are the same as the comments in the book.
Well, that's kind of why I brought the prop, remember? Because I wanted to make sure I got the right, input. And I did make separate notes like for this. I didn't just copy paste the chapter, but it's pretty similar. So if you like what you hear, maybe you can go pick up a copy.
And if you don't like what you hear, buy it for someone else.
Yeah, someone with better taste than you. So, wow, I'm really selling it, huh? Okay. This is the Claypool Hotel. It's in Indianapolis, and it was once located on the corner of Washington and Illinois streets and was built in 1903 by a local businessman named Henry Lawrence, whose goal, which sounds like what you just talked about this jail, whose goal was to build the finest hotel Indianapolis had ever seen.
They're always trying to build the finest. I'm so tired of the finest. Like, give me mediocre. Get
in line with Holiday Inn Express. They're like, it's not the finest, but it does what it says on the tin.
They have been just fine. So why do you feel like you need to do better than that?
Why reinvent the wheel? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So in addition to its luxurious amenities, for example, steam laundry and private bathrooms.
No, I like that. Okay.
Yeah. For 1903, that's important.
Mm-hmm. The water pressure was probably terrible.
It's probably a hose, but still.
The first toilets, did people think they were just a scam? Because people had to be clogging those things all the time.
Oh, no.
It must have felt like they weren't even worth it, until they figured out how to, really get the suction going.
The plumbing. Oh. Mm-hmm. So in addition to these quote-unquote luxurious amenities, the Claypool also boasted, which reminds me of the Pfister Hotel, it had shops, it had a barber shop, it had an ice-making plant, a restaurant. It had all these parts that were meant to make you feel like you were at a one-stop luxury shop. And the hotel, like he wanted, became one of the grandest in the Midwest, it was considered at the time. Yeah,
lovely.
So he did nail it. That, however, all changed in 1943 when housekeeper Lillian McNamara opened the door to room 729 and was shocked to discover the body of a woman face up with her arms above her head.
Ugh.
Just lying on the ground.
Oh my God. Okay.
Her slip and army-issued uniform skirt had been pushed up over her waist and she had been sexually assaulted. Her head had seemingly been bludgeoned with a broken bottle that lay nearby, and so there was this big pool of blood, and in the pool of blood, near her head, lay a single quarter.
A single quarter. Heads or tails?
You know what? I don't think it was notated, which is problem number one with this investigation.
Mm-hmm.
Before long, they were able to identify the victim as 32-year-old Women's Army Corps Corporal Mayoma L. Ridings. Now, this is so irrelevant, but I love her name, Mayoma. I think it's really pretty. It's like Naomi, but not Mayoma.
Well, I was going to say mayo, which I do like. But
my favorite condiment.
It sounds like mayo and Paloma or something.
Oh, yeah. Well, M-A-O-M-A. Yeah, Mayoma. So detectives quickly set their sights on the first suspect they had, which was 23-year-old bellboy Robert Wolfington. And when they interviewed him, because he had been working that evening, his story was a bit shady. So Wolfington claimed that on the night of Mayoma's murder, he had brought up a bucket of ice to her room, which she had requested. He explained that she allegedly spoke to him through the bathroom door, suggesting he leave the ice on the dresser and take a single quarter as a tip.
Okay.
A single quarter, you say?
Mm-hmm.
On the whole, Wolfington's story seemed normal enough that you would just be bringing up an ice bucket. It's not that weird. But when police checked the in-room dining logbook, he had failed to list this delivery, and he claimed, I just totally forgot to write it down, which is
Didn't
a little
forget to take the tip.
shady. Yeah, didn't forget. Or did he? Because it was still there.
That's true.
But either way, it was shady, but there really wasn't too much they could do because they thought he might be the guy. He actually also had like a very guilty conscience. They thought. Because he said, ever since this happened, I haven't been able to sleep. I've been losing sleep. I've been drinking more. And they were like, could this be a guilty conscience thing? But it also may have just been he went through a traumatic experience thing. So
Sure.
Who knows? But even though he was very drunk when being questioned and was not the most reliable witness, they didn't have anything factual to hold on to, or to hold him to the crime, so he was let go. Now, they did have another lead. Mayoma had received a call to her hotel room the night she was killed, and when they traced back who had made this call, it turns out it was from a Corporal Emmanuel Fisher who was stationed at a nearby base. And he told police he had a date planned with Mayoma that night. And so he got stuck at work and he got called in to stay a little bit later. And so he called Mayoma's room to tell her, hey, I'm going to be a little bit late to our date. And he heard a man in the background of the phone call. And so he assumed Mayoma had found another date already for tonight. So he just shrugged it off and moved on. Now, this is where M's probably longest interjection of the whole book is located right here.
Oh, God.
Do you have anything to add to try and guess what you said here?
What was the prompt that I...
Do you want me to read it again?
Sure, yeah.
A few hours later, he claimed he called Mayoma again, only to hear a man on the other end of the line. Assuming Mayoma had found another date for the night, he shrugged off the incident and moved on.
I don't know. What did I say?
Well, let me find the page. Please hold. So M said, and I quote, "Compliments to him for just shrugging it off. I would have secretly made it my whole personality. gently stalked them on social media, and then still platonically followed their Instagram 10 years later because I've now been remotely invested in their life for so long that to just walk away from it all would feel like losing a comrade in this fiery hellscape. Anyways, hi, Michelle. I would be lying if I said I didn't pick it for that very reason, because I read that last night and went, holy shit. Are you okay?
Michelle is someone I went on one date with, and I can't unfriend them. I like to see what's going on.
I get it. I think it's a very relatable take.
Michelle is now married, by the way, to someone who listens to this show.
I thought you made a fake name, Em. Why the fuck would you use a real name?
I don't know. Why not? I'm not ashamed of it or anything. But she, apparently, at some point, like years after we went on our one date, said something that she's like, oh, I just saying hi. I'm dating someone now who listens to your show, and then they ended up getting married.
And you were like, I know, I follow you pretty extensively and thoroughly on Instagram.
Not extensively, just if she shows up on my feed, I'll, I read what it's about. But
Sure.
Okay, well, that's very funny. I'm so funny. I'm so glad I wrote that.
Yeah, are you guys glad to hear Em laugh at their own jokes? Em, you better reread this before you go do the audiobook, because you're just gonna be laughing at your own jokes the whole time. There were a couple times during the reading of the audiobook where I said, motherfucker, I can't believe I have to say this out loud. And it's like something I wrote. But there's one where I literally did a whole verse of the Cha-Cha Slide. And I said out loud to Charlie, our publisher, and to the guy Mark, I was like, do I have to sing this? She's like, no response. And because they're probably like, fuck, your fucking book, you wrote it. So I'm just like, okay. So I'm like, cha-cha real smooth. To the left. Yeah. To the right. And I just see like these like people just watching and like
they always
notes.
Look so stern. They don't look like they're having fun.
Embarrassing. I was like, I can't believe I did this. So if you don't want to copy our book, maybe just listen to the audiobook, because it is really embarrassing what I did.
There was a point the last time I recorded where, to be fair, the guy that I was working with, I don't think he liked me, and I don't think I liked him. We just did not connect. But anytime I said a joke, I really just needed someone to just at least fake laugh through the glass, so I didn't feel like such an idiot. Didn't laugh at a single thing. And I went, okay, well, obviously you're not going to buy this book. So
yeah,
in my mind, I was like, can we get someone
anyone
who will buy the book to be in charge of this? So I've got
but you also don't want them to be
ears.
like laughing during it, right? Or you just want
I do
like the validation of like, well, because they have to be quiet.
No, I was in like a sounded off room.
I know, but maybe he was laughing. How can you tell?
Because I could see him through the glass and he was not laughing.
Oh, so you want him to just kind of like
at least respond. Yeah, something. Okay. Give me something.
I think he's probably not allowed to. Maybe you should give them like, you can say, oh, this is an interactive recording session. Because I feel like most singers and stuff would be like, don't fucking interact while I'm recording something. You're different. We're different because we're like, we need validation. You're allowed to laugh along.
Yeah, I'll let them know. I'll be like, my instruments and I both really need the praise. So do what you need to.
It fine tunes my work. Thank you. Anyway, so that was M's interjection at this point. The guy was like, oh, looks like she found another date tonight. Well, too bad I got stuck at work. Bye. And went on his merry way. So police had no reason to believe this corporal, was lying, so they moved on to a third suspect. This third suspect was an unnamed hotel employee. We still don't have his name. And he became a person of interest because at the time he had been labeled as a sex offender. But when police could not come up with any rhyme or reason to connect him to this crime, they were back at square one. So I think what frustrates me about this is that any of these people maybe were involved. They just don't have any fucking proof. Like,
did you up at this point in your notes, did you have a guess on who it would be?
I mean, I think this Wolfington character and his single quarter sounds a little suspicious, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know for a fact, because again, it also happened so long ago that like, I mean, I only know what a couple articles are telling me, but it just seems a little odd, especially the fact that he was like too drunk to even be interviewed multiple times. I think at one point, like he went to his parents' house and like refused to come out. There were all these like strange behaviors that he was doing to avoid talking to the police, which I'm not saying that's abnormal. I'm just saying in the context of like, did you kill a woman? Like, it's a little abnormal. So anyway, that is unfortunately where we end that particular murder because it has never been solved.
Oh.
Yeah.
So wait, is the episode done? Wait a minit.
No.
Oh, okay.
That is why I said that particular murder is now over.
Got it.
Because they just couldn't link anybody to it, which is very frustrating because I feel like we don't have enough information and it's just a big bummer. But we got to move on because on July 18th, 1954, this basically happened like right as people were starting to kind of get over the hullabaloo about the first murder. Like the first murder happens at this luxury hotel. Everyone's like, holy shit. 10 years later, everyone's kind of like, oh yeah, we've sort of started to move on. It happens again.
Okay.
So it's almost like there's like this curse on this place. I don't know. That's just me saying that, nobody else. But it's a little bit odd. So just as the public started to kind of move on and pretend like this place was perfectly normal and luxurious as before, the unthinkable happened and another woman was killed. This took place July 18th, 1954, when two housekeepers noticed what they called, quote, a horrible odor coming out of the dresser in room 665.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And in what I can only assume was a very, very traumatic moment and probably happened in slow motion, they pulled the dresser open together, the drawer, to find the body of a woman jammed inside of the dresser.
Yeah.
Terrible. According to the Indianapolis Star, her, quote, 5'6", 125-pound body was jammed into a dresser drawer that was about 48 inches by 24 inches and approximately 10 inches deep.
Okay. That's okay.
Horrible.
So was any, well, I guess we wouldn't know this, but I guess her body wasn't like cut up. Like they just really like kind of like bent her.
Yep. They just kind of,
oh my God,
shoved her in there. Yeah.
Not that
yeah.
I don't know what like.
I know it's all bad. It's all bad, as we like to say. But it's extra bad. I mean, it's not extra bad, but it's just sadder because you have more information when you find out that this is a young woman who's only 18 years old. Her name is Dorothy Poor, and she had been visiting Indianapolis in search of career opportunities. And when the county coroner took a look at her body, he determined she was probably smothered to death, like probably with a pillow.
Okay.
A creepy side note here, which in the chapter I put at the end of the book, but I feel like is worth noting here because time-wise it just makes more sense when telling it out loud. But apparently, so Dorothy went to Indianapolis in search of a job. Apparently before she left, and I'm not entirely sure where she's from, but a different state. And before she left, her grandmother had taken her to a fortune teller, and the fortune teller had warned Dorothy to never visit Indianapolis again because she had already been. And she said, you shouldn't go back there. And they said, why? And she said, because you face death upstairs in a building.
Oh, shit.
And this is what this fortune teller allegedly told her before she left and went to Indianapolis anyway. And this is what her grandmother told reporters. So, you know, it's kind of
why are people going to fortune tellers just to not listen to them?
That's a really good point. It feels like Lillian Darcy, the grandma, was like, it was all her idea, you know?
Also, like, there was that in, like, Miss Molly Brown, like, the unsinkable Molly Brown. She literally, they said, don't go near water. You will die. You will die. You will die. Homegirl goes on the Titanic. Like, what are you talking about? Like, she just, these people just are spending money not to even use the service that's coming for them. So,
wow.
I don't know. If someone said stay away, I don't even know if they're a fraud. I would actively listen just in case.
Just in case, you know? I don't even want to, like, weird self-fulfilling prophecy where now it's in my mind and I'm, you know. But either way, she probably said, Grandma, I know you don't want me to get a job because I'm a woman, but I want to go get a job. And so that I am imagining it was something like that. She's a young woman. Her grandma's like, don't travel to Indianapolis. Here, a fortune teller will tell you not to do it. And she's like, Grandma, like, you know, I don't think it sounded like the grandma was very much more into this whole fortune teller thing than she ever was. But In any case, that is a creepy side note. So she went anyway to Indianapolis. And interestingly, when they looked at records, it indicated that Dorothy was not staying here at this hotel. She was actually staying at a different hotel called the Lorraine Hotel, not the Claypool. So detectives were like, well, how did she end up at the Claypool then in a dresser drawer? Obviously, that's step number one. And detectives kind of surmised after talking to her family that she had probably been lured to the Claypool with the promise of a job interview. Which makes me extra sad. It's like you're vulnerable already as a woman. You're trying to get a career path started in the
And there's
50s.
so limited opportunities.
Yeah, it just feels extra icky to take advantage of somebody like that. And there was actually an undercover reporter, which is a totally separate story that I don't even talk about in this chapter, but I remember researching this story, and there was this undercover reporter who was a woman, and she tested it out by going to Indianapolis dressed like she was there to look for, like dressed like she came from a small town and was in the big city to look for a job. And she said she just did it to see how people would treat her. And she was like, it was horrible. She said she got off the train and like all these men came over saying, I've got a boarding house for you to stay. Oh, you look like you might need a ride. Just stranger danger times 1,000. So it's extra creepy when you think about like that was kind of the norm, that people would swarm in like to help you, quote unquote. And if they have bad intentions, not good.
No, thanks.
So in any case, they thought, okay, well, she was probably lured here for a job interview. And fortunately, police already had a suspect in mind. And that's because somebody else was staying in this hotel room. And that was a person listed in the logbook as Jack O'Shea. And this is room 665. So they're thinking, okay, Jack O'Shea, we got to figure out who this guy is. But they're assuming this is a fake name, because why would you sign in with a real name if you're going to murder somebody in this hotel?
Why would you sign in if you're smart?
Yeah. If you have, exactly. So employees, they had instead when they couldn't find a Jack O'Shea, they had the employees describe the man that they interacted with, and they created sort of a composite sketch to release to the public. And when they released this to the public and said he may be going under the name Jack O'Shea, a dry cleaner in town said, oh, wait, I know that guy. He used to work for me, and his real name is Victor Lively.
Uh-oh, okay.
So he's caught. Police bring him into custody. Immediately, he confesses to the crime. He's like, oh, you got me, I did it. And
isn't it funny when it's that simple? It's just like,
I know,
oh, okay.
It's like, seriously, guy? So he described himself as a contact man for a human trafficking ring.
What?
Yeah,
he described himself as that?
I know, that's why it almost feels like he wanted to talk about it. Like they're like, you know those criminals where they say like they're just itching to open the floodgates and tell you
He's
everything.
like, I've been dying to tell someone about this. I really
Finally. I was hoping it wouldn't be the cops, but I guess here we are. So
which also like if like he clearly is not he's totally fine with like being a snitch too, because if he just wanted to like fess up to the murder, he wouldn't be like, oh, I'm part of a human sex trafficking ring where now I obviously have to tell you other people's names. Like
that's a really good point, Em. Like he just implicated a whole bigger group of people and implied he has other victims.
Yeah, he definitely now has just made a bunch of enemies. Like if you got caught for something, when you just be like, yep, that's me, and then at least you would have
don't look any further. Yeah,
and then you'd have no trouble. But now like all you've done is ratted a bunch of people out who are going to be mad at you and probably have no problem killing you.
And now you're probably going to face much bigger charges. Like why did you even go there? It just doesn't make any sense.
He sounds like a yapper. It sounds
he sounds like a fucking yapper.
Sounds like he just nervous talks.
He just blurted it out. Then he tried to probably do the thing that a lot of us do, or is it just me, where you try to fix it by explaining it further. And then it's like, wait, no, now I'm overcomplicating it. And you didn't need to know all that. You know, you just kind of word vomit. So maybe that was his whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did. He immediately was like, anyway, me, I'm a contact man for a human trafficking ring. And my role in the organization is to seduce girls and coerce them into sex work. Oh. So like, okay, what the fuck? Then they ask, okay, well, tell us what happened to Dorothy. He admits he tried to make a move multiple times. She rejected all of his advances, and so he strangled her. He's like, yeah, I did that. So after a 13-day trial, he was sentenced to life at the Indiana State Prison. But he was paroled in 1980, and he died less than a year later.
Okay.
So those are the two big deaths here at the hotel. But I want to tell you that there's a little bit of a haunting capper to the story. Because of course there's a haunting. These are very traumatic incidents that happened here.
Yeah.
So after 2 gruesome murders and a big fire, the Claypool had to be demolished in 1969. And even though the hotel itself is long gone, now, wouldn't you know it, there's a good old Embassy Suites sitting right there where the Claypool used to be.
Mm-hmm. So almost like not the luxury hotel we all wanted, but the moderate one that's cozy and works well.
It's affordable, doesn't need steam laundry, good old fine laundry will do, whatever.
As suggested.
Yeah,
as suggested.
Totally true. So the Embassy Suites sits in its place, and I feel like you don't often hear about like a haunted Embassy Suites, but it is haunted. So staff say that, and guests have said that. And so if you decide to stay, this is what I wrote in the book, and I kept this line in because I'm like, that's really silly. But I wrote, if you decide to stay the night on your own haunted road trip, take note, the hotel may well be haunted. Cleaning staff often sense cold spots, and some have even spotted full-body apparitions. One story tells of a woman who heard the water turn on in the lobby bathroom despite having entered alone.
I hate that.
She opened her stall to see a woman in old-fashioned clothing who asked her whether she was enjoying her stay.
No, I'm not. Not anymore.
Yeah. When the woman responded in the affirmative, yes, I am enjoying my stay, the apparition leaned in close and whispered, "Are you sure?"
That's a fake story. That has to be a fake story.
And my response was, or my note in the book was, not anymore. I'm not sure. What the fuck kind of question is that? But yeah, that's a pretty famous one that apparently happened, that she said, "Are you sure?" and then just vanished. So
anyways, hi, Michelle.
Anyways, hi, Michelle. We're all troubled here. Yes, we admit it. That's the Claypool Hotel, and it's 2 murders and it's ghosts.
The ghost was weirdly worse for me.
Isn't that horrible?
That's just, that feels like that cannot be real. That someone, like, first of all, you would think I would think you either hear of a sink going off or water running or something when you're not in the room, or you see something, or you hear her talking, and you don't hear her talking twice.
I think
like
you're
in
jealous.
Response. Maybe I am, but
no, but I feel like you've told stories where it's like someone has a conversation and then they just like never were there.
Man,
or like an elevator operator who helps you with your bag and then like is never there. I don't know.
Yeah. I just hate it. That was that was all bad and also good. Thank you so much for your time. Of
course. I love it. This is the first ghost story I've told in like years, and then Em's like, "That's not a real story." I'm like, cool. I guess I'll leave it to you next time.
I just totally just like stole your ability. I'm like, no, don't take my job from me.
I mean, no, I loved it because you were scared by it, so I'll take it. If it's fake,
worked,
whatever, but it scared you, so.
Oh my gosh. Well, yike-a-roonies. Well, what a great plug for the book.
That's what I thought. I was like, oh, it can't hurt to like tell a story from the book, and I didn't do many that have like, so some of them have like QR codes in the book where you can go listen to like a full episode on it.
Oh yeah, now
you can tape this. You can like just like write it in with a Sharpie, or if you're coming to one of our book signings, maybe I'll write it.
Maybe we'll just we could have a stamp of a QR code to this episode, and we just stamp it in the book. Actually, that's a great idea.
Stickers and just hand out stickers. Be like, stick this somewhere on page 214 or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Maybe we'll put a thing at the top or something that says like, this is also featured in this book, so that way they cross promote each other.
Oh, I love that. That's great.
Yeah. Well done, Christine. I'm very excited. Of all this though, I'm most excited for you to tell me all about your time with your own fortune teller recently.
Yes.
Was it a medium that you spoke with?
It was a psychic medium. She told me to not go upstairs in a building. No, she didn't say that.
Oh my God. I really had a heart attack for a second. Okay.
No, she did tell me some really weird things though. So I am going to talk about that in the after chat, after dark.
Let's go do that. If you're part of Patreon, come on over with us. And I am very excited to hear what warnings someone has given Christine that I know she will not follow.
It's not warnings. She was like, there's nothing to be scared of. And I was like, well, now I'm scared, I guess.
It's like, so you're telling me I can't be scared of anything?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Sounds like you were given bad information. I know there's something to be scared of. Okay, well, I'll see you over there.
See you soon.
And
That's
why
we
drink.